7.1 million fewer Canadians crossed into the United States last year, and the country's own tourism industry is now paying the bill for its president's mouth. From Berlin, this looks less like a diplomatic spat and more like a demonstration of a very simple rule. When you insult your closest neighbor for a year, they stop coming to visit. Americans are accustomed to Canada as the polite friend who always shows up. Europeans are watching Canada quietly close the door. The figures come from Canada's own statistics agency, so this is not speculation. The United States was for decades Canada's most important international destination. Then, in the agency's careful wording, after the change of government in the United States in early 2025 and the introduction of the America First policy, Canadians' travel plans changed abruptly. A 23.5% drop. Meanwhile, Canadians traveled more inside their own country and to other nations by a comparable amount. They didn't stop traveling. They stopped traveling to America. The money follows the mood. Canadian spending on trips to the United States fell by 3.3 billion down to 18.8 billion Canadian dollars, roughly 12 billion euros. The United States Commerce Department, using its own method, counted 20.2 million Canadian visitors in 2024 and just 16 million in 2025. Even German tourists dipped from about 2 million to 1.8. But Germans have an ocean between them and Washington. Canadians share a border, and they are voting with their tanks of gas. Why the sudden chill? Donald Trump, new tariffs, repeated threats, and his cheerful, recurring suggestion that Canada should simply become the 51st state. That is not a joke Canadians find funny. In response, provinces pulled American liquor off the shelves and told their citizens to buy Canadian. When your bourbon becomes a political statement, the relationship has moved past diplomacy. And then there is the bridge. Canada just opened the billion-dollar Gordie Howe International Bridge, connecting the two countries with a celebration that deliberately excluded the United States government. They were not invited, not wanted. Trump responded in his signature register, mockery. Canada disinvited the United States of America from the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge. That's okay, considering that Canada pays substantial tariffs to the United States, he wrote, helpfully naming the exact reason he was disinvited. The timing was almost theatrical. Days earlier, Trump announced new 50% tariffs on select Canadian goods, hockey sticks, wine, and cement, taking effect August 19th. Canada's infrastructure ministry concluded that a joint celebration would be, in its words, inappropriate. So the bridge that physically joins the two nations was opened as a monument to how far apart they have drifted. From the outside, the lesson is almost boring in its clarity. You cannot threaten to annex a country, tax its goods and mock its ceremonies, and then expect its citizens to book a weekend in Florida. Canadians heard the message. They simply stayed home. That's the view from here. What does it look like where you are? Drop it in the comments and subscribe for the perspective American media won't give you.